Evansville community is lucky to have him here. So I'm going to just wrap up a little bit of things that going back to health and wellness is a big theme of ours, especially now with COVID. There are numerous studies and research that show how critical the environment is to people's mental health. And especially with COVID, it is more critical now than ever. One of the big accolades that I think we have at Wesselman Woods is that we were able to open up the trails for 4 months while COVID started to unfold. Most of our staff stayed home. Zach and I were the ones that stayed in and maintained all the trails, everything just the day-to-day business administration. We also have an animal curator. We have 28 animals that are rehab that we have in our facility. So we kind of held down the fort, and like I said, that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of is that people and or families were able to come out onto our trails during those first 4 months of COVID. So once I think it was in July, we were able to open back up. We were able to start charging admissions again. We'd love to open up the trails for free always, but unfortunately we received very little money from the city. And even though we are a state and federal nature preserve, we don't get any funding. So we do get some small funds from the city, but the rest is all left up to donations and events and programming. So I'm really proud of our staff for that's what kind of keeps us alive. But obviously with COVID, we had to pretty much discontinue all of our events and programming, education, and then our memberships. And then also, just even being able to collect those admissions when we opened up the trails for 4 months. The good thing about that is we've got to see, people of every walk of life that was able to come in and walk the trail from every income level, ethnicity. It was really rewarding to see a lot of high school kids that were actually out there together, walking the trail. So it was very rewarding that we could offer that to people and to the community when I feel like it was most needed. So we have an incredible staff. We have a very active board as well. So a lot of really good, fun, and exciting initiatives that are in the pipelines. But I'm going to turn it over to Zach Garcia, and I'm going to let him educate you on the importance of the actual Wesselman Woods and our old growth forest.
Hey everyone, good morning. Very happy to be here today.
Good morning.
So a little bit about myself. I'm a Hoosier, born and raised. I'm from Northwest Indiana, so the region. I was based in the Midwest for a number of years for undergraduate work. And then I traveled abroad with the Peace Corps, and then I came back and did my graduate studies on the East Coast. And then I came back to Indiana. And a lot of people ask me, why did you choose Wesselman Woods? Just to reiterate what Robin said, is Wesselman Woods is the largest urban old growth forest in the United States. I mean, coming from a graduate degree in forestry and environmental management, to hear something like that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a gold mine. This is incredible. Like this, in Indiana, Evansville, Indiana, the largest urban old growth forest. That's unheard of in the United States. I know I think in Brooklyn, the Thane family forest is maybe 52 acres. And it's old growth, but I mean, to think that we have around 250 acres of old growth forest here in Evansville, it's amazing. And I'm sure all of you have been to Wesselman Woods at least once, twice, 3 times. And what I think is so fascinating is that if you go to any other forest in Indiana, you will not find trees as large and as large and in charge as you'll find at Wesselman Woods. It's really astounding to think that we have such an ecological and natural treasure here in Evansville. It's wonderful. So I think that's kind of our biggest mission right now, is to get everyone to know what an asset Wesselman Woods is for Evansville. I think there are smaller communities that understand the importance of Wesselman Woods, but it's our duty to get that eco-literacy out to everyone so that people know, oh my gosh, we have to protect, we have to conserve this place. And not just Wesselman Woods, but the surrounding areas in Evansville too that are, wild spaces. So that's my little soapbox of why I think Wesselman Woods is so great. With COVID this past year, like Robin was saying, COVID hit everyone in different ways, and it definitely hit Wesselman Woods. I have to say though, we were pretty fortunate where, because a lot of our programs are outdoors, we were lucky in the sense that we were able to still kind of truck along and make things work. So a few things that we have. So what's going on at Wesselman Woods now? So some of the biggest things are our education programs. So Indiana Master Naturalist, maybe some of you have taken the class, but our Indiana Master Naturalist class, that takes all over Indiana. There's Indiana Master Naturalist classes in Terre Haute, in South Bend, Northwest Indiana. We're lucky at Wesselman Woods that we're the only site where we have 2 courses of IMN in the year. So it's a popular course here in Evansville. And then when it comes to children's programs, we have a number of children's programs. We just started Junior Forest League, and the Junior Forest League is getting kids from I think 6 to 12 years old, just out in nature. And I'm very against doing crafts, doing sticking googly eyes on a piece of wood or anything of that sort. If we're gonna have a kid program, I want kids outdoors. From start to finish, they need to be outside. That's my personal and professional mission while I'm at Wesselman Woods, is we need people outside. And something that we've been doing with Junior Forest League is that we'll close off an entire trail. An entire trail will close off, and that trail will just be for those kids. And we'll have adults at both ends of the trail, and those kids will have a task, either to find a tulip tree, to find a sugar maple, to find a sycamore tree. And they have to work together and have that autonomy and that independence to relate and to connect with nature by themselves. They have to do it on their own. So I think that's a very novel program and something that we're trying to do, and hopefully other nature centers will see that and be like, oh my gosh, that's a really neat idea. Fingers crossed, hopefully they do. Research. Now, when I got on board at Wesselman Woods, there were a few research projects going on. This year, we are hitting it out of the park. Our Director of Natural Resources and Research, Cindy Cifuentes, she has been, oh my gosh, again, hitting research out of the ballpark. I'm sure you all know that right now in the springtime, we closed down some of the roads in Wesselman Park for the salamanders. And this year, Cindy has recorded over 400 salamanders. So comparing that to the previous 3 years, we maybe observed maybe 45, 50 salamanders. So this year to observe 400, I mean, it's really incredible. She's going to be starting up a camera chat program, so we've never done that before. So we're going to see what wildlife is migrating into and out of Wesselman Woods. And then another one that we started was our sugar maple. So maple sugar bush, we collect all this sap. And last year I was thinking, you know what, if we collect the sap, why don't we collect how much we get from each tree? We collect temperature. We can then see the flow rate of the sap coming out of our trees. And then over a long time period, we can see maybe how climate change or other social, physical, or natural disturbances will have an impact on the sugar maple trees and the flow rate of sap. So that's research. And then our nature playscape. I don't know if any of you have been in the nature playscape yet, but it's the largest I would say it's the largest in the United States. I haven't seen anything bigger, but it's about 3 acres, and it's a space outside the nature reserve for kids and families to explore. I mean, that is the area to turn over a log or climb a tree or jump in a puddle. That's where we want you to do it. And that's a great space for kids to explore, get intimate with nature, and also to risk take. I mean, climb up a tree and fall down and scrape your knee. I mean, that's something I did when I was a kid. I'm sure many of you did that as well as kids. And nowadays, we don't really encourage that. It's, oh my gosh, be careful. Let me hold you as you climb this tree. And no, what we're trying to encourage in the Nature Playscape is for kids to, again, have that autonomy, have that independence to take a risk and trust their instincts. The fourth thing I have right now is Howell Wetlands. Sure, if any of you are Westsiders, you know Howell Wetlands. We recently had a really big event at Howell this past fall, Wandering Howell. We were masked and socially distant, and what we did was we had folks go through Howell Wetlands. We showed them what an important feature this is for the West Side and just for Evansville in general. So we have Howell Wetlands, and we're always working on Howell Wetlands, and we can always have some TLC over at the wetlands.
Are you running Howell now?
Yep. So we've managed Howell for about the past 12 years now.
On behalf of the city?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So not Howell Park, but the wetlands.
No, I meant the wetlands.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that was still city. Okay.
Who's that at?
What was that?
How big, how many acres?
Ooh, Howell Wetlands, I think 38 acres.
Where's the what?
38 acres, the wetlands. Yep.
Where's it at?
It's on Teacup and
From Broadway to.
Broadway Avenue.
Yes.
And it's on the east side of the raised elevated road.
Yeah.
And it's, the sewage plants are just past it. And
Yeah.
the processing facility and the old, Cyrus here.
Yeah.
And it's really a neat area.
It is. Oh yeah, yeah, if you go out there in the morning or the evenings, you'll see foxes, herons, a lot of turkey vultures, peregrine falcons. It's a fun place. And right now, as it's getting warmer out, if you walk on some of the back trails, I mean, you'll see logs with hundreds of turtles just sitting there basking in the sun. So the last thing I have, what's going on at Wesselman Woods, is wildlife curation. So like Robin said, we have a number of animals at Wesselman Woods. They are all local and endemic to southern Indiana. I don't want any animals that aren't native to this area at Wesselman Woods. So we have a number of animals at Wesselman Woods. Many of them are post-rehabilitated. So they had an injury of some sort. They were rehabilitated. They can't go back out into the wild. So now we take care of them. I think I can say this.
They live in cages.
Yes, yep, but we always take them outside. Almost every single day. We'll take the turtles out. We'll take the birds out. Yeah.
She actually does a little bit of physical therapy with his wings.
Yes.
A lot of our birds of prey have injuries to their wings. So our curators will actually let them fly around a little bit to get outside their cage to work on their, they can't have full flight. So she'll practice with them on their rehabilitation.
Yep.
For physical therapy.
You, during this pandemic, took care of all those animals?
No, our animal curator came in and helped take care of that. We held down the rest of the facility,
Yes.
but our animal curator came in and fed the
Yeah.
animals. That's out of my scope.
And if we had to, I think we could probably manage it. But our wildlife curator and educator, Elaine, she came in and she did that. Yeah.
Is the entire woods area the preserve, is it all fenced?
Yes.
How do all these other animals get in and out of the place? I tried to figure that out, and I thought, there's a road, there's a big ditch that goes under Morgan Avenue into
Right.
that other woods on the north side. That's like, are animals going through that thing? Or how in the world do they get into that place and how?
We have secret spaces for the animals. I'm very serious now. There are secret spaces for the animals to go in and out of. I would never tell people those secret spaces because I feel like we
But
would have.
the animals know how to get in and out. And
Yeah.
because I've seen animals there that, as I go down Stockwell, they're saying I look through the fence all the time. And I've seen strange animals that I've never seen before. And then I wonder, coyotes or something that get in there.
Yep. Oh, yes, we have coyotes. We have coyotes. We have white-tailed deer, turtles, amphibians. I saw a black rat snake yesterday. Turkeys, a number of raptors, a bobcat, maybe one or two bobcats.
Have you seen them or you seen their tracks?
I have never seen them. I think I've seen their tracks before. Somebody that was in the woods, they did see it, and I trust this person because he knows wildlife and whatnot. But
One of the trackers have seen prints. of
yes,
that, so.
yeah, yes, yeah,
You wouldn't, I would expect a bobcat to be in there.
yeah.
Beavers and otters in there?
So, see, river otters, I found the scat. So I've never seen a river otter there. I thought I did one time, but I don't think it was. But we did find the scat. So they are there. And beavers, yes. From time to time, beavers will come through.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, is there a creek that runs through the place?
Yes, there's two. There's one that comes through Morgan, and that kind of meanders around the side and then goes to Stockwell. And then there's another one that goes from like the Armory, and that goes through the preserve as well.
I think you guys need to come out and take a hike.
It's been a long time, and when you go through, most of the time, it's because you're having a fundraiser. And it's one of those things where you go from station to station and try a different route. And pretty soon you don't care what it is. I'm just kidding. But it's never.
A little bit of liquid
To
courage.
really get off the paths and go through everything and see it all.
Yeah.
And those things are so much fun to do.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
those are things that I miss. That getting outside and being able to do that. And those days when you used to tap the trees and then make the maple syrup and pancake days. And those were so much fun. And at the same time, fundraising. And getting people involved so that they can get back.
And there's such history, a lot of our volunteers that do that and the guided hikes. We didn't have it this year with the guided hikes. We couldn't have a pancake breakfast, which is obviously very popular, but so we did a makeshift version, but that would be our Wandering Owl, which is in the fall. Lots of fun with the alcohol and lots of food, and then the maple sugar bush. But it really is a family at Wesselman Woods. So even though I was on the board before I stepped in as the executive director, but it really is a little family. There's such history with Wesselman Woods and the community. But Wesselman Woods is really a beloved place by a lot of by the community, and I didn't realize that until I stepped on the board, and then even more so when I stepped in as the executive director.
Do you guys also run the shelter facilities, the shelter houses and stuff?
That is through the Parks and Recreation
So
Department.
that's the Parks Department.
Yeah.
that does that.
Yes.
And so their budgets are different. And you take care of everything inside the fence.
Yes, yep. So everything inside the nature preserve, that's what we take care of. Yep. Everything outside of that, any issues, any reservations for shelter houses, the playground issues, we just tell people you have to call Parks and Rec for that.
Yeah, that's fine. All right,
Yeah.
carry on.
Is that,
Yes.
what is the oldest tree that you know, and what's the biggest tree?
Yes. So the biggest and oldest tree is our tulip tree. So just right behind the nature center, we have I believe it's a state champion tulip tree. We have to measure it this year and see if it is. But I believe it's state champion tulip tree. It's about, I believe we think it's about 600 years old, and it's about 400 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Better two more popular?
So
400 feet?
400 feet.
Wow.
Wait, hold on. I think I'm getting things backwards. It's 400 years old, and I think it's around 60 feet. No, it can't be 60 feet. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is on Zoom too. It's not recorded.
Right behind where you can sit from that observatory side of the birds are.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm so sorry. I
Don't worry.
was just giving tours too when I was saying this. Why did I remember this? It's
It could
400
be
years
six-
old.
It could be 600 years old.
The 60 feet's probably right, or maybe.
It might be. I think.
Their tree's taller.
I have
than
a feeling it's like 62 or 63 or something. Yeah.
that.
But I mean,
You
it's
guys go to the schools and promote the forestry program and all that too?
yes, yes. So we go to schools. We also have a lot of school programs come to us during COVID, and they can't take the buses or anything of that sort or have field trips. So they haven't been coming to us. But yeah, we do outreaches, we do school programs, adult programs as well. I mean, in 2019, I think we had over 14,000 kids
Wow.
come through Wesselman Woods.
Wow.
In 2020, I believe we had around like, I think it was like 200 school kids. And that was just like January, February, a little bit of March that we had school groups and then closed.
So do you go to the school and promote the program, or do you have to be asked by them? How do you do that?
So we're usually asked by them. Yeah, so it's with school regulations now of having people come in and just talk. They don't let you do that. Like, I mean, when I was a little kid, and probably when you were all children as well, people would come in and talk about stuff, and it would be on their own volition. Nowadays, no, you're invited to the school. Yeah.
Recycling center still open or is it closed or is that under your?
Yep. So the recycling center is a part of Wesselman Woods. Right now, it is still closed. However, we do have our off-site recycling events, and that happens at the old Walmart West on the west side. And actually, this Saturday will be our off-site recycling event. So if you have recyclables, please bring them on over to the old Walmart West.
Well, you used to have a recycling dumpster or device at Wesselman's.
Yes.
And we used to encourage friends
Still
and
there.
we take stuff over there, but it's gone.
Yes. Yeah. Right now, it's closed. Yeah.
But it's still there though. The infrastructure is still there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still there, but it's closed. Okay.
Well, we are working with the city.
Okay.
There's a lot more to that a lot of people don't understand with just even recycling in general, not only nationally, but globally. A lot of cities are actually doing away with recycling completely. So just with the commodities and the manpower, and just the city recycling, we have become the only drop-off site for all of Evansville. So for our little fledgling organization, it's a little bit overwhelming to manage the entire city's drop-off recycling program. So we
Is
are
that going to be something you might transition out? Not that we give up on recycling, but that Wesselman doesn't do it.
Absolutely. So we're working with the mayor of the city on that. We're working with them to phase in something else, another option for the city. So, but we still have our off-site recycling. Like I said, we just can't be the entire, we are working with the city. But we
Did
can't
you
be the
make
entire-
money at that, or were you just providing a service?
For the on-site or off-site?
Probably.
They're really two separate entities, and it used to be very profitable. And a little bit of the history, when Wesselman Woods first started the recycling, it was before there was city recycling. So at that point, it had been very profitable and something that people helped, a lot of volunteers. Since then, the funding has dwindled, and then also the commodities, even before COVID, the commodities have crashed. So that's why it's a little, one of our board members, Rob Flores, is helping us to kind of navigate this with the city, because there's a lot more to it than most people in the community understand. So that's why we have some great board members and community organizations that are partnering with us and the mayor to figure out some kind of solution for the city.
So one last item, and if I overstep my boundaries by saying this, tell me, shut up. So you'll be the first all to know that in June, I'm still talking about wildlife curation. So in June, we're going to be adding a new member to the Wesselman Woods.
You can't say that.
I was going to say whatever.
Okay, well,
Not even the new, oh,
well, you got a little sneak peek of something to come, so.
That's what I was going for. Like,
Yeah.
right, it's a surprise.
Have you figured out these charades?
Oh, you can't do it so bad.
I know. I'm so sorry. Don't fire me. I'm so sorry.
so the anticipation in June, someone will come.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
There we go.
So I don't know.
You could do that one time. I think when McDonald's was redoing their Ronald McDonald's makeup, you know, kind of this whole thing. They for a month said, "Man, have you seen him? Man, I can't believe," you know, like they were teasing on these commercials leading up to this. This is like 95 or 96.
Well,
So
yes,
maybe
we are
that's
teasing
maybe that's
here.
the teasing.
Just a little tease that
Teaser that we'll have something to stay posted to, that there will have a little.
They did that with USI's branding too, where they were sort of, they had this one puzzle piece and they lift one piece. It's coming, you know, back in 2014. Like you couldn't figure out from the one little glimpse what the new branding would look like. But, you know, we don't know. We didn't hear anything.
sorry.
You know, just that, yeah, well, there will, like I said, we'll have something that very exciting news that will be unveiling in June, so.
You know, I always thought that it'd be a great place. They have these Easter egg hunts and stuff, you know, and coming up here shortly, they'll be bringing it again, I'm sure. And I always wondered if they ever thought about doing something like that at Wesselman's.
We have, and we
Bringing
have,
people over, just having something like that.
We
I know
have-
it takes a lot of work and you don't want to trample down everything.
Yeah.
right.
Disturbing the animals, so.
We are always open to ideas, and one of the great things about Wesselman Woods is that people love giving ideas, suggestions. Right now, we have been literally almost crippled. We've been so short-staffed, and then just even going through the last few years, trying to get reestablished and stabilized. What's really exciting, and I'll just go ahead and move into a lot of the exciting things that we have in the pipelines, is that we have a program that was formulated by Zach Garcia here through the Alcoa Foundation, and that's to educate businesses, so businesses can come into Wesselman Woods and we can educate them on how to be more sustainable, have just little, how to be more environmentally friendly, better stewards of the environment. And so they can learn how to be more energy efficient, and then those employees will take that knowledge back to their corporations, learn how to save money, and to become more better stewards of the environment. So that's our Green Allies program that we have coming up in the fall. As a platform, kind of a launching point, we have our Going Green on the Green Golf Scramble that is coming up here in a month. So the great thing, I guess, is that we, for our first year, we are already sold out on golfers. So it's a great, we've received a lot of support for the Golf Scramble. I think we're going to have it every year now because we have so many wonderful organizations and or people that are wanting to participate, because all those funds do go back into Wesselman Woods. So it's called our Growing Green on the Greens. While we don't have any golfing sponsorships available, we do have whole sponsorships. So if anyone has who they'd like to contribute and or to have a business acknowledged, we do have full sponsorships, which are $500, or even signs just to pledge your support for Wesselman Woods. And those will be displayed all along at the golf course as well. So some other things that we have going on that are really exciting, Zach shared our research. We'll have our Wandering Owl event in the fall. One thing that we are working on, we got a very generous donation from Penny Kent Motors to replace all the signage in Wesselman Woods Trail. If you come out and see the signage, it's really dilapidated and in dire need of being replaced. However, it's extremely expensive. So we are still about $12,000. What we're hoping to do is to fill that $12,000 gap. We're wanting to have a health and wellness event that will feature the Trails Coalition, Healthy Communities Partnership. What else do we have? Who else will we talk to? Parks and Rec, just to have a big open house to celebrate Wesselman Woods and health and wellness. So we're still looking for, like I said, $12,000 in sponsorship to help get those trails upgraded. Upgrade Evansville's another one who's helping us, and I believe the Wellborn Baptist Foundation. So we would open that up again to the community for kids and or families to celebrate being outside, being active, and being healthy. So that's another really big event that we're hoping to kind of in the pipelines, as well as we've been gifted the Par 3, the little Par 3 area golf course. We are actually absorbing that space. We're hoping to put in kind of a barrier to reforestation to serve as a boundary going into or a nursery for the Par 3, our Par 4, sorry, and to utilize that Par 3 as some more space for outdoor board meetings and boardrooms and possibly a wet lab for kiddos. So we're in the process of raising funds to hopefully have that as an addition to a nice green space that would then wrap around the Trails Coalition and adding to our trails, possibly making it connected all the way from west side of Evansville all the way theoretically to Newburgh. So those are some of the exciting things that we have in the pipelines.
So some of those plans of trying to, build the, isn't that kind of a trail from the state hospital across into that part? So you're going to try to incorporate that Par 3 into a lot of that?
Right, correct. And have a
Wonderful.
nice green space. And then, of course, there are still plans for Roberts Park. Zach and I are working with the mayor on that as well, and possibly even having a raised trail bed where there's an old railroads that run parallel to Wesselman Woods, to have that as a running trail. And again, we can get that up and going, and then you could theoretically walk or run all the way to Newburgh.
That would be the final. I mean, Roberts Park has been something. The club that meets at noon that you might be familiar with, the Rotary Club of Evansville, they had a huge commitment. In fact, they committed money they raised for their centennial 6 or 7 years ago for Roberts Park, and Roberts Park never came to be. So they purposed that money somewhere else. But it's a wish the city had pulled a trigger on that. It was kind of the meeting.
It is. I will say that a lot of people are wanting to make that happen.
Yeah, they want to.
Mankind looks everything. It's extremely expensive.
Yeah,
that's kind
it's
of
a couple million at least, and then to have the city commit to it, I think there was some nervousness of 1.8 or something. I mean, it's a big commitment from the city. But
well, one of the big problems historically is that it's not only to have these, nice features, but it's also maintenance and to take care of it after we get it installed. So that's always an additional funding that should come along with that. So, yes.
Our club actually did the running pathway all the way down Van Avenue at the state hospital.
Oh.
We put in that little park, and we even have a bench there and sit in the rotary, and there where you come over the bridge and come down to that. We just go all the way down to Lincoln Avenue and curved it around. So that running path.
Yep. And it's
it's not a paved path, it's a rock path it's supposed to be better for running on. Somebody's got to spray it, keep weeds from going in, but we did that.
Yes, and that is utilized and appreciated a lot. You see people walking through there, because there's not a whole lot of green space in Evansville, especially when you compare our city to other ones. So that's one of the things we're really trying to work on for Evansville.
Speaking of that, just the other day, coming down Lincoln Avenue, I looked over at the lake, and I just noticed that they rocked all those lakes. And my God, I, as a kid, used to go over there and ice skate and watch. And I actually fished in that lake 2 times long, and saw the ducks and stuff, and as a child, wonderful. So probably Zach actually best you know how big that entire area there from Lloyd, where the Robert Stadium Park, all the way back with the golf course in around behind the National Guard thing on the Market Avenue. How much land that, if the woods is 280, would that be 500 acres in total?
That's a great question. I am not sure. I'm not sure. I would have to, yeah, I would have to go and look at a map and calculate it, but yeah, I wouldn't even have a guess.
Well, that whole area, when you can think about the state hospital facility where the scout building is,
Yeah.
where they have the gardens and the to grow vegetables for people and flower areas and
And the dog park,
huge,
the dog
huge
park.
area. People don't realize how much space we have dedicated to that.
The north end there, Morgan Avenue, that the Wabash Area Canal was.
Yep.
Did that carry into the woods, or did it stop?
It carried it went through the woods.
Okay.
Yep, our Boonville Trail, that's where you can see the ditch and then the berms, excuse me, the berms. So the
Yeah.
Boonville Trail, that was one of the berms.
Yeah.
So yeah, that carried through the woods. From what I've been told and what I've read, it didn't do too much damage to like the integrity of the forest, because we still have some champion trees on that area. But yeah, you can still see the ditches and the berms, and then also the Newburgh Railroad that went through Wesselman Woods as well. And the Newburgh Trail, you can still see the railroad ties. Thank you. I think the other day I was like, those railroad thingies. The railroad ties. You can still see the railroad ties in the trail.
And
Yeah.
actually on the Boonville Trail, the one you're talking about, the railroad where the Erie Canal was,
Yeah.
that's probably my favorite trail, especially in the springtime and the fall. It just has a beautiful canopy of trees that you walk through. It's just very, I don't know, it's very serene, calming. It's just a
Yes.
long canopy of trees that you kind of go through there. So the railroad just runs parallel to that trail. It's beautiful.
As best you can tell, that the woods have never been inhabited by people, never been farmed or raised.
And that's what really makes it special.
Interesting.
Yeah, never been cleared. And it's funny and interesting, the history behind that is because I guess of disease and a lot of the young men that normally would have cleared the land actually went to work on the Erie Canal. So they didn't have time to actually clear the land. So it's kind of happenstance that it was, and luck that it hasn't been cleared, and which makes it so special. And since coming into this position, I started to learn more about, leaving our carbon footprint and just the ecological value of these old growth forests, not only the trees, but even the soil that it holds in the carbon. It's really fascinating, and just the biodiversity that's at Wesselman Woods. You can find species of plants that you can't find anywhere else in Indiana. So it's really cool to walk with DNR agents through the forest and to listen to their expertise and kind of have them share what their perspective is on why Wesselman Woods is so special. We're one of their favorite forests in Indiana.
What is DNR's oversight of? Do they have any oversight over in terms of what?
This is really Zach's question, but there are a lot of regulations and rules.
Are they on? Is it like Kentucky has a state nature preserve commission,
Yes.
and they have all of that. Is Wesselman under kind of like a similar thing in Indiana?
Yes. Yep. We have I don't know, Indiana Nature Preserves. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
But there's like a whole section of DNR dedicated to that. Excuse me. And yeah, there are many rules that we have to follow. We have to make sure that people stay on the trail. Can't take anything out of the preserve.
But you're considered one property of the Indiana Nature Preserves Network.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is great, because are you familiar with the one in Louisville, the Fairgrass Creek State Nature Preserve?
No.
But this is interesting. I mean, this blew me away when I moved here 11 years ago. That's a 41-acre old growth forest, and it's in the middle. It's right near Bellarmine University. It
Wow.
is smack dab. I mean, it's even more smack dab in the middle of Evansville than ours. I
Yeah.
thought it can't get any better than this. Then I moved here in 2010, and there's Wesselman. It's like cool.
That's
And it's
awesome.
6 times the size, but it's 40, and it does it. And you don't get this at here because it isn't right in the center, but it's amazing. You could be at it's Fairgrass Creek State Nature Preserve. You can all visit, you go to Louisville. You could be there in the middle and see the nature, and you could see the lights of the college and the university around. You could see it, and yet somehow still applying yourself from. That you were in nature, that you were in this environment. In fact, you could hear the sounds, and then you find yourself tuning out the sounds to in there too. So yeah, it's 41 acres.
Wow.
Does your group help in any way with the Pigeon Creek?
No. So Pigeon Creek, I believe, is DNR regulated. So we don't mess with Pigeon Creek. Yeah. Sometimes we'll get calls of like, hey, down here at Pigeon Creek, there's this and this and this, and we just have to call DNR and let them know. But that's their jurisdiction.
I thought maybe, I remember some fundraisers where they had either canoes or something, trips on Pigeon Creek. And I didn't know whether you guys had been the ones that came up with that. That's an interesting area too.
Absolutely.
And,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
it takes a lot of work to get rid of over the years the trash that people put in, and they had no consideration for our future.
Yeah.
And to clean those things up and bring it back to the point where people can enjoy it and so enjoy nature. What God created.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got to be part of the job. I mean, a big responsibility. I mean, try to preserve all that for the future, for our children.
Yeah, it's
Well said, yes.
quite a task.
Any closing comments?
You can follow us on all social media platforms. We're on everything. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if any of you guys do TikTok, but we're on
The newest
TikTok.
thing, right?
We have a number of volunteer opportunities. So if you ever want to come out and volunteer, we're always happy to welcome new blood to our volunteer group. Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything for the good of Rotary before we close?
I'll say something. I had Rotary Pets training, so the president-elect training. And the new theme is Serve Rotary, Change Lives. So it's
What is it?
Serve Rotary, Change Lives.
That's good.
Yeah. And so it's a good theme of just Pets was online, so it's not like a 2-day seminar that they sent us to Effingham, Illinois. It was done in 4 sessions, so it's very positive, and it's going to be an exciting year coming up. So
Good deal. Yeah. District Governor will be here the 15th of April. So. And April and May are going to be big months for us. Lots of stuff. So. And we appreciate the guests being here. That great presentation. Yeah. Right. So.
Thank you for having us.
And if you would please rise and we'll recite the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First.
It is true.
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
And fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
all right.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank
Appreciate it.
so
Thank
much
you,
for
Robin.
having us.
Thank you.
I hope you all are able to come out on the trails.